Master switch is on. Ted's good in the back. Good afternoon. You are at a Plan Commission of the City of Wausau. It is Tuesday, July 15th, 2025. It is 5 p.m. City Hall Council Chambers. We have a quorum present. First item is approval of the meeting minutes of June 17th. Would entertain a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion from Bulkin, second from Borneman. Questions, comments? There you go. All those in favor of accepting the minutes for June 17th signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, a couple of public hearings today. First public hearing is item 2 on the agenda is discussion on rezoning 1427 Lake Street from SR5 single-family residential. It's a 5 zoning district to a TRD 12 townhome residential zoning district, and 1601, 1607, and 1611 Chella Street from SR2 single-family residential 2 zoning district to TRD 12 again for townhome residential's zoning district for Wausau Real Estate, Inc. Anyone in the house today looking to speak to that? Yes, sir. Come on up, state your name and
Mark Thompson with MTS, 1699 Schofield Avenue. We're representing Wausau Real Estate in this application. We submitted this application for amendment back in the late 2022. Plan Commission recommended approval, and then ultimately it was rejected by the City Council. We're back with the same application. The submittal materials were exactly the same as the previous. We believe that the application meets the future land use plan, and it follows along with the city's housing goal of providing mixed housing in neighborhoods. The vast majority of the adjacent properties are in the SR5. The density for this project is 6.4 units per acre, so it's slightly more than the adjacent properties, but it's certainly not up to the 12 per acre that is in the townhouse district. The previous application, there was neighbors that were concerned about the height of the building that would block their view. Well, the height of the building isn't any different than somebody coming in and building a 2-story single-family dwelling. There's also some concerns about the density, but again, we're not that much more dense than what's allowable in the SR5s. So we think it's a reasonable project, a higher density residential adjacent to 17th Avenue, which is fairly high traffic and not real well suited for lower density single families. And be happy to answer any questions you may have.
well, we'll take questions on the second piece of this, so we'll take that comment. Any other comment on 1427 Lake Street?
I do.
Yes, sir.
Ken Jensen, 1306 Lake Street. Maybe it's not addressed in this committee, but since that area has nothing but a U-turn to get out of there, I don't know where the parking or exits are going to be, but both of those streets in that area are very beat up. They haven't been maintained well in that area, and if we continue to add more and more traffic in that area, they'll become less maneuverable. And I just question, has that been addressed or will be addressed? Or there is no outlet down there. It's all right back out to Chalice or any of those. So,
Okay, we'll finish up the public hearing, and there may be an opportunity to address that more specifically in a minute. Thank you, Mr. Jensen. Anyone else would like to speak to that topic at 1427? Okay, seeing none, we will close the public hearing. Oh, yes, ma'am?
I'm one of the Wausau real estate representative.
Okay, if we have some questions in the next portion, we'll open the floor for that. So we close the public hearing and we'll discuss possible action. And I'm going to surmise that everyone was on the Plan Commission when we did this last time. So item 3 is discussion and possible action on rezoning 1427 Lake Street from SR5 to TRD 12 for townhome zoning, and 1601, 1607, and 1611 Chella Street from SR2 to TRD 12. So these are all in one, I guess, bunched together, one continuous lot for Wausau Real Estate LLC. Would entertain a motion on that action for rezoning. From Watson.
I'll second.
Second from Bulkin. Discussion. Do we want to recap so we know? Yes, Alder Watson.
Well, I mean, I think the question about the traffic is great. And I know that would probably go to infrastructure or something too, but what's the plan for that?
So just for a brief, good evening, Chair Denny and members of the Plan Commission. So just for some brief, and I know you've seen this before, so I'm not going to go into a bunch of detail, but in the context for tonight, the focus, of course, is on the zoning map amendment. So like Chair Denny said, so 3 of the parcels are SR2, 1 is SR5, and they would all be going to TRD 12. So just for consideration, just for the commission's consideration, so the existing zoning for both SR5 and SR2 is largely single-family residential. There's a couple other permitted uses, but it's very much single-family. So moving it to TRD 12 encompasses more of a multifamily use portfolio. It's like duplexes, twin homes, townhomes, multiplex, and apartment, 1 to 4 for most by right, and then conditional use for 5 to 8. So just so we have that in our mind, even though we have a conceptual plan that's being proposed, as proposed, that would be a conditional use permit. So that would be a separate approval process. Once it's rezoned, any of the permitted and conditional uses then that fall within that zoning district is what we'd be looking at for the district. So in terms of access to the site, City Planner Lentz and I did walk the site. We looked out there kind of at what the conditions look like. And this particular proposal is proposing access from that Lake Street lot. And when we were out there looking, that does appear to work pretty well because it is a frontage road that's existing out, or kind of a quasi, I mean, it's not a frontage road, but I mean, it has the feel of a frontage road because there is an access from 17th. So that would end up being a continuation of that road. And it actually would it seems like be a pretty nice kind of contiguous point of access that would bring you to those lots. And that was one of the things that we looked at. So, But in terms of land use, there is quite a bit of traffic noise from 17th Avenue when you're out there. So typically, multifamily properties tend to be adjacent to more high-intensity kinds of things like a larger corridor. So I think in that way, there is consistency and would provide a buffer before you get to the single-family zoning. Things that we look at, there would be an increase in intensity and density. But again, this would be probably a space where that would make sense, and it would be something that would lend itself well to that site. And then to go into your single-family parcels, it seems like it would be a nice use of the space. So in terms of access, it would depend on the proposal that's brought forward with the conditional use, but this concept has access from Lake Street. It's kind of like a road that would continue through that parcel and provide access to the project, which would be those SR2 lots.
So the access then would continue. That wouldn't necessarily be Lake Street, or would it?
It would depend. I mean, it could be, or it could be a private drive. I'm not sure. That would be kind of a public works or infrastructure and facilities determination. But that's something we would look at with that conditional use, is just the best way for that project to be accessed.
Thank you. Alder Watson.
So, you said that up to 5 to 8 units is what the designation allows, right? Okay. But that wouldn't necessarily have to go up? Like, is there a height, requirement or something for this?
Yep. So the maximum height for the TRD 12, let's see. It would be, let's see here.
It's 35 feet, same as the single family.
So that would be kind of your typical two-story height.
So even though you could do 5 to 8, it's not like you're going to get this huge apartment complex in there because you can only go up to like that level. Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else? So we have a motion and a second, and this would go to council at the next council meeting,
Yep.
August 12th. Okay. So a motion to recommend approving rezoning at 1427 Lake Street from SR5 and the others from SR2 to TRD 12. With a motion and a second, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And that passes, so that'll move forward to the August 12th council meeting. Up next, we've got another public hearing. It's a discussion on rezoning 903 and / 907 South 60th Avenue from medium industrial zoning to heavy industrial zoning district for Wausau Warehousing LLC. Anyone in the house looking to speak to that tonight? Yes, sir. Come on up to the podium.
I'm Wayne Peters. I'm the owner of the property. I live in Eau Claire. My address is 1077 Bittersweet in Eau Claire. That map that you've got right there, what you're showing in light gray right now, actually, my property isn't all of that, just to make sure it's correct. So it shows more than I'm asking to be rezoned. There's a parcel A on the bottom west side of that I didn't think was included in the zoning application. And when I purchased the property in 2015, I checked on the zoning, and the zoning was heavy industrial. And it was originally developed as a foundry, Murray Foundry, and I acquired the property in 2015, and at that time it was in kind of a distressed state, and have been working on it for the last 10 years to get it fixed up and back in service and leased. And I was surprised when I got a letter stating that the zoning was non-conforming. But then I looked at your new zoning code definitions and found that it had been zoned from heavy industrial to medium industrial, which makes a difference as to what you can store outside. My tenant has shingles stored in an enclosed area outside, and because they are defined as a wholesaler according to your zoning definition, then it creates the need to have heavy industrial rather than medium industrial. And I'm applying for heavy industrial because number one, that's the way the property was developed, and that's the way it's been used for not all of the uses, but there have been heavy industrial uses in there for the majority of its lifetime. And number two, that's what I thought I was unaware that it had been, that you had rezoned gone through a rezoning and had reduced the zoning on the property. Number three is that for your definitions of heavy industrial, i.e. being out of the public eye and in a quiet, location, not highly visible from traffic corridors and residential areas. This property fits about as ideally as you could find for heavy industrial use. And I would like to, those are the reasons that I believe we should amend the zoning to heavy industrial.
All right. Thank you, Wade. Anyone else looking to speak to that for the public hearing, 903, 907 South 60th Avenue? Last call on 903, 907 60th Avenue. All right, we'll close the public hearing and take up the discussion of that item. And the next item is discussion and possible action on the rezoning, 903, 907 South 60th Avenue from medium to industrial zoning to heavy industrial zoning for Wausau warehousing. And Brad, if you maybe give us a quick thumbnail of how that rezoning happened, because as I understand it wasn't heavy and went back to medium.
Sure. Well, I guess just as a high-level overview, I mean, we adopted a new zoning code in 2020. So basically, every parcel in the city was rezoned. We had old zoning districts, we have new zoning districts. There were 2 previous manufacturing districts, but then we went to 3 like industrial districts. So, there's not a one-for-one match, like all of these went to this district. Some, there was some placing of the current, or from the former zoning into the new zoning code. So, again, that took place citywide. That was adopted, new maps, new text for the zoning code. So that's what happened in 2020. In some cases, again, there was assignment to different districts. I can't say it was intentional that it was downzoned, but if it were to be that way, I guess the safety net that the city has is that there is a public process for a rezoning, that any property owner can come into the city and request a zoning change, and this is the process for doing that, is holding a public hearing and having it approved by council. So I guess that's sort of the history going back to 2020.
Okay, so I'll entertain a motion to rezone that property.
I'd
From
make a
Watson
motion.
makes the motion. Second from Borneman.
I also had a question.
Question,
Yeah.
Ms. Watson.
So, in your memo, it says something about like density. You're not likely seeing density changes. Can you explain that just a little for me? You think it'll be a good transition? It won't I guess I wondered what the density thing meant.
So I think that part of the zoning map amendment analysis is just to look at density and intensity and the potential for changes. So this is a developed site. So I mean, a vacant site, it's more, important, I think, to look at density. This is a developed site. Actually, the density is probably less for a higher intensity industrial because there's larger setback requirements. The concern with going to heavy industrial is more the intensity of the uses that are allowable. The use they're proposing is outdoor storage, kind of like I think a lumberyard type use, contractor outdoor storage. Because it's a zoning map amendment, we just need to keep in mind that any of the uses then permitted under a heavy industrial zoning district would be allowed. But staff's analysis, I mean, it's still adjacent to other industrial uses. It's in an area where heavy industrial would be compatible. It's directly adjacent to another heavy industrial zoned property. So, I mean, we don't have concerns with that change.
Ms. Watson.
I just know that we're really environmentally conscious as a council, and so having something go to where you maybe can make more of a pollution impact might not, be very comfortable for people. So I was just curious how that might impact or influence people's decisions. But it seems like the infrastructure's there, that thing's not going anywhere, but redesigning or redesignating it opens that door though, potentially, right?
Yes, I mean, that is true. I mean, heavy industrial becomes one of the permitted uses. And there is a greater likelihood of uses that would have, higher impact in that way. So I think that is something that is good to keep in mind. I mean, our zoning code does have guidelines and limitations around those things, around, various kinds of emissions and lighting and, I mean, all the things that could be impacted. And then, of course, we also have, I mean, depending on the size of the lot, we also have DNR requirements if, associated with development. But that is exactly, I mean, the type of thing that's taken into consideration, just because there would be different uses allowed.
And I wanted to thank you, Brad, too, for the editing of the zoning codes. I think you were very forward-looking as a community, so thank you very much for doing that, because you were ahead of a lot of other places.
Thank you. So Mr. Peters had a question on the map. Are we comfortable with the way the map is drawn for this?
Well, I mean, according to our GIS, I mean, it's all one big parcel, so I don't know if that's subdivided, if, certain portions are leased, but as from our records, it's showing as one large parcel.
Well, then I think you need to check the records. The lower end of that parcel there, if you can, let's see, if you can, okay, you see where your arrow is right now? That's parcels owned by Brownfields Inc. And that is not a part of my property. My property is the building above it and the land going to either side.
So the yellow parcel line that's below, I think, is showing a separation there. It's probably confusing because it's all the same color. Those two parcels are the same zoning district, but that yellow line that kind of jogs up and over.
Yes. The yellow line demises one property from the other. They're currently both zone medium industrial now, correct? But but I just wanted to clarify that I don't think my zoning application did not include the parcel to the south.
Correct. That's correct. We're just looking at that property line boundary, that yellow outline.
Right, okay. They're all yellow outlines.
The one the arrow goes to, that parcel, and then the yellow border, anything outside of that yellow border would not be included. So the lot to the south isn't part of this proposal.
Okay, yes, that's
Thank
all.
you.
I just wanted to make sure that we were defining the same parcel. As to the question that you had, in reading your zoning, what I found is that they changed the zoning, and so that the difference between medium and heavy isn't so much the use anymore. It's largely whether you can have anything outside, such as, outside storage of, in this case, building materials. But the uses actually, if you read that through it, they kind of change the criteria from what used to be to a little different standard.
All righty, thank you. So with a motion and a second on rezoning 903, 907 South 60th Avenue, are there any other comments, questions? All right. All those in favor of forwarding the rezoning recommendation signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, and that too will go to the August 12th council meeting. Thank you. Item 6 is another public hearing. This is on discussion on rezoning 809 South 62nd Avenue from medium industrial to heavy industrial. Similar shift here for Brian Randall. Anyone looking to speak to that one? Yes, sir?
I can answer questions about the use of the property. I represent Beacon Building Products. My name is Jed Walker.
Okay.
We're a potential tenant.
Okay, we'll be taking a second piece to this hearing, and if we have questions, we'll call you up. Anyone else publicly looking to come forward on this one? All right, last call on 809 South 67 Second Avenue. All right, we'll close the public hearing on that rezoning, and we'll go to item 7, which is discussing and possible action by the commission, the Plan Commission for rezoning 809 South 62nd Avenue from medium industrial zoning district to heavy industrial zoning district. For Brian Randall, I would entertain a motion. Motion from Borneman, second from Balkin. Comments, questions? We've got our developer here. Looks pretty straightforward. Okay. All those in favor of passing on the rezoning recommendation on 809 South 62nd Avenue signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that passes. Thank you, sir. Item 8, discussion possible action on approving a conditional use permit for 2811 West Wausau Avenue to allow construction of a multiplex 3 to 4 unit per building within the 2-flat residential TF10 zoning district. Would entertain a motion for conditional use.
I'll make the motion.
Motion from Balkin, second from Borneman. Comments, questions? Do we need to explain anything for the record?
We updated.
Mr. Hebert.
Thank you, Mayor. We updated the staff report to show, we didn't have any public comments during the actual hearing, but there was a letter submitted after the meeting. We looked at that and checked its validity, and we made recommendations in our report. We felt that the proposed 4-unit on the almost 3/4 acre lot was acceptable, and we recommend approval.
Okay, thank you. Anything further on that? All right, with a motion and a second, all those in favor of approving the conditional use permit for 2811 West Wausau Avenue signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that passes. Did I read that right? Are we on 9 on approval of conditional use of 508 East Wausau Avenue, other side of the river, to allow construction of an off-street parking lot within the 2-flat residential -10 TF10 zoning district? Would entertain a motion. Borneman, second with Watson. Discussion on that item. I think we've seen this one a few times. All those with a motion and a second, all those in favor of approving a conditional use permit for 508 East Wausau Avenue signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that passes. Item 10, discussion and possible action on vacating and discontinuing Pine Ridge Boulevard from North 28th Avenue to West Hill Drive. Would entertain a motion. Motion from Watson, second from Borneman.
And if I may, a couple items were forwarded from the INF committee. So there's 2 items in front of everyone. There's minutes and then another supporting material presentation that came from the applicant.
Okay. We see the petitions. Everyone have an opportunity to review? I see REI is here as well. Anyone have any comments, questions? All right, we have a motion and a second. And this will go to council at the next council meeting, or does it need to go back to
I think it goes to council, right?
council?
I think so, yeah.
All right. So with a motion and a second, all those in favor of vacating and discontinuing Pine Ridge Boulevard from 28th Ave to West Hill Drive signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And that passes. Our next meeting date is August 19th, same time, same place. Would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Watson. Horniman. All those in favor?
Aye.
See you later.